Imagine walking into a vast, echoing room in Madrid's Reina Sofia Museum. The lights are low, almost reverent, and there, stretching across an entire wall, 11.5 feet high and nearly 26 feet wide, is a painting that feels less like a picture and more like a scream frozen in time. Black, white, grey, and a bruised kind of blue. No colour, yet somehow it burns. This is Picasso's Guernica, painted in 1937, and I truly believe it is one of the most important paintings ever made, not because it is beautiful in the usual sense, but because it refuses to let us look away from what human beings are capable of doing to one another. Let's go back to where it began, because the painting didn't come out of thin air. It came out of fire. Monday, the 26th of April, 1937. Market day in the small Basque town of Guernica. People are buying vegetables, leading donkeys through the narrow streets, children playing. Guernica wasn't a military target. It had no big factories, no barracks, no strategic bridges. It was simply an ancient town, the spiritual heart of the Basque people, with an oak tree under which Basque leaders had sworn their oaths of freedom for centuries. At about 4:30 in the afternoon, the church bells started ringing. Not for mass, but in panic. German aircraft, Heinkel bombers, and Junker fighters from the Condor Legion, sent by Hitler to help Franco in the Spanish Civil War, appeared in the sky. For 3 hours they dropped high explosives and incendiary bombs. Then came the machine gun strafing of anyone trying to escape across the fields. When it was over, whole streets were ash. Somewhere between several hundred and perhaps 1,600 people were dead. Exact numbers were never agreed because so many bodies were burned beyond recognition. News reached Paris the next day. Picasso was 55, already famous, living in the Rue des Grands Augustins with his lover, the photographer Dora Maar. He had been struggling for months with a commission from the Spanish Republican government, a large mural for their pavilion at the Paris World's Fair that summer. He had sketches, some of a painter in his studio, some of an allegory of light, but nothing that felt urgent. Then the photographs of Guernica arrived, ruins still smoking, a child's shoe in the rubble, and something in Picasso snapped awake. He began work on the 1st of May. For 35 days he barely slept. Dora Maar photographed every stage. There are dozens of images of the canvas changing, figures appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Picasso said later, "In the panel on which I am working, which I shall call Guernica, and in all my recent work, I clearly express my abhorrence of the military caste, which has sunk Spain in an ocean of pain and death." But he doesn't give us a straightforward news report. This isn't photojournalism in paint. Picasso tears reality apart and puts it back together in a way that hurts more. Stand in front of the painting and the first thing that hits you is the size, and then the chaos. Everything is shattered. The composition is triangular, like the old Renaissance altarpieces, but here the triangle is broken, jagged. At the top, a brutal electric light bulb with rays like a sun made of knives. Picasso called it the bomb, disguised as light. To the left, the bull, massive, looming, eyes tiny and cold. People argue about what the bull means. For some, it's fascism itself. For others, the brute spirit of Spain. Or maybe just raw terror. Picasso was coy. He once said, "The bull is a bull and the horse is a horse. If you give a meaning to certain things in my paintings, it may be very true, but it is not my idea to give this meaning. What ideas and conclusions you have got, I obtained too, but instinctively, unconsciously. Next to the bull, the screaming mother with her dead child, head flung back, mouth a perfect O of grief. She looks like every pietà you've ever seen, Mary cradling the dead Christ, but stripped of comfort, stripped of God. The child's head lolls, tiny teeth showing, like a broken doll. In the center, the dying horse, its neck pierced by a spear, tongue a sharp triangle of agony. The horse, Picasso said at one point, was the people. Its body is made of newsprint. Literally, he glued strips of newspaper to early versions before painting over them. So the suffering is printed, broadcast, inescapable. To the right, figures fleeing or falling. A woman with arms raised, hair on fire, another crawling from a burning house, a third plunging from a window, arms outstretched like a terrible crucifixion. And everywhere, broken limbs, staring eyes, mouths open in silent howls. There's almost no blood, just black and white and grey, like the newsreels of the time, like ashes. One tiny detail always stops me. A little flower growing near the broken sword in the bottom centre. The only gentle curve in the whole painting. Hope? A joke? Picasso never explained. When Guernica was first shown in the Spanish pavilion in July 1937, people wept in front of it. Some were furious, too modern, too distorted. Franco's supporters called it Bolshevik propaganda, but the painting travelled Oslo, Stockholm, London, New York, raising money for Spanish refugees. In 1939, when Franco won and the Republic fell, Picasso said the painting could never return to Spain while a dictatorship ruled. So Guernica went to the Museum of Modern Art in New York, on indefinite loan. There it stayed for 42 years. Picasso died in 1973. Franco died in 1975. In 1981, after Spain became a democracy, Guernica finally came home. There was a ceremony. People lined the roads, cheering as if a hostage had been released. It arrived in Madrid on the 10th of September, Picasso's 100th birthday, approaching. And there it has stayed ever since, behind bulletproof glass after an attempt to spray paint it with red slogans. I sometimes wonder what Picasso would make of us looking at it now. We live in a world that still bombs market towns, still makes refugees, still produces photographs of children under rubble. The technology changes, the drones, the guided missiles, but the screaming mother looks the same. Guernica doesn't offer comfort. It doesn't say, this happened once, long ago. It says, this is still happening. And yet, every time I stand in front of it, I also feel something stubborn rising in me. Because the painting exists. Because someone saw the worst thing imaginable and decided the only answer was to make something so loud, so impossible to ignore, that we would have to look, really look, at what we do to each other. That, I think, is why it still matters. Not because it is beautiful, but because it is necessary, and because, in the middle of all that pain, a small, fierce flower still grows beside a broken sword. And on that note, we'll leave Picasso's great cry echoing in the dark. Next time, we'll move forward a few decades and look at something completely different. How a drip of paint on a canvas in a Long Island barn changed everything again. Until then, keep looking.